talk to you about what we need to have you guys discuss tonight and act on.
As I said earlier, we've received no written or emailed comments during the comment period. I did receive one email during that period that was electric related, but it kind of stems from an inquiry into the city where a gentleman was interested in getting a electric vehicle charging station. And he responded back and he said, well, could you think about it? So that's one thing that maybe they would want to be looking at, but just wanted to bring that up. As I mentioned earlier, the Electric Utility Advisory Board on Thursday recommends that the council approve the resolution, which would adopt the plan. We would recommend a motion to adopt the resolution would be in order. A couple items on the document that's in your packet. We will be changing the date on the cover page just to approved and accepted by resolution number, whatever it is, adopted on August 18. And then in section 7, it talks about public involvement. We would add today's date to the blanket map.
All right. Do we have anybody left to make public comment?
I knew we'd run them away.
I don't blame you, Greg or Dave, for that. But questions for David or Greg or staff or Jeannie? I'm curious as to the resolution number.
Yes.
1909.
1909.
The questions on resolution number 1909?
Yeah, I was curious. I was looking through the DSM plans for years 1 and 2, and it talks about load management. And there are multiple ways that you could manage load remotely, and also as well as, there's obviously an education component of this, but there's also a metering component. And my question on this was how, I don't see anything in here regarding the metering aspect. I know that you have programmable thermostats, but smart meters, are those in the offing here? I know that they're being used in other areas of Johnson County. Could you please speak on that?
Sure, you bet. As I indicated, this is a plan on implementing a plan.
Sure.
And so years 1 and 2 are going to be developing exactly what you suggest there. What is the cost, benefit of putting in smart meters in the electric system? Is there a payback? And is it worth the investment? All those analyses will be done in that first year and a half of program development. So this document's not going to focus on that. It's suggesting that those are what we will start with as ways to implement demand-side management programs within the city. We've never done this in the city. And so there's a learning curve and a requirement that we get the staffing and the infrastructure and the people involved that can implement these programs and get buyout by the council to pay for it.
So this is really as a result of the power management companies saying we see a value in lowering consumption.
Western Area Power Administration, the federal hydro agency that sells us the hydropower, mandates this requirement. They mandate, if you want the hydropower, then you produce these IRPs.
Right. Because it is a limited supply.
That's correct. It's part of the Energy Policy Act of 1992 and the add-ons onto that act. And part of that requirement is that the federal government said if you're going to benefit from low-cost hydroelectric power, then we want to see that you're using it efficiently. And this is the methodology they've decided to use to show the government that we're using it efficiently.
These are the
and actually, it's good policy anyway to say
right.
it through.
Sure. Except if, I mean, and I agree with it, from a citizen standpoint, but except for when you own the power plant, and reducing consumption could affect the budget.
And that's part of the analysis is to sit there and do, we're going to lose revenue here, so that's part of the cost of a program. And so the administrator will factor those things into the analysis when they recommend a program.
The flip side of reducing is if you can reduce it during the peak periods since we buy most of our energy, you're paying the premium price if you can, because we're basically shaving those premiums. So that it will
benefit either way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it can work. It definitely works in your favor because we've even back when it was part of Public Works years ago. We were kicking around, the technology where you could contract with customers to be able to cut their air conditioners off for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes during peak periods. So this is not a new concept, it's just something that Gardner really hasn't researched.
Christie?
Yeah, Dave, I know you're familiar with the study that was done a few years ago, specifically kind of around this whole energy conservation stuff. Is there anything that you can think of that would be relevant? If I remember correctly, and maybe it would be good if everybody gets to see that again.
I remember it.
Yeah, but there wasn't really anything at that time that was really substantial, kind of, that we felt was really gonna add a lot of significant value. But in light of this, I mean, maybe there was something that we missed as we were looking through that.
I know they were looking at the HVAC system in this building, one of the items, and Dean is, the facilities management is putting in these things incrementally. But to go ahead and consolidate into a control system would be a very major impact. Right now, it's set up to where there's, off hours times where it basically changes and either goes hot or cold during whichever the appropriate season. So it does have a lot of control, but we're still controlled by 27 thermostats.
Right.
But yeah, things like that are good things to look at.
Okay.
So those are happening already?
Yeah, there's
Some of it?
Well, actually, the thermostats are still there, but there is a control system. So yeah, when you go off peak, I think it goes to 80 degrees during off peak during the summer, and then it goes down to.
But remember, for a while there, one of the discussion items was we couldn't even turn it was running weekends when no one was
Right.
here. Is that still the case?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
No, it's in fact, as soon as we clear out of here, and possibly before you clear out of here, the AC is going to be shutting off. So
I mean,
Hey,
maybe
Mel.
it's a house.
I've been in here when it starts getting warm.
yeah.
I think they did implement some of those Burns and Max studies that you.
Yeah, we did implement, there
Right.
were a couple that I think were some big hitters that
Yes.
just made common sense, but then there was a whole list of items, and for some reason, I just didn't think that from a cost-benefit perspective, they didn't seem
Well, they were all,
that substantial.
they were all 20-year paybacks. I mean,
Right,
there
so-
was,
so
there was a 4 to
that's-
7
yeah.
year, which was good, and everything else, the majority of
Yeah.
them were 15 to 20.
One of the things that was brought out in that study was at the wastewater treatment plant. I think it was electric heat in the shop building, and it was basically total air recycling. So basically, there was no recovery of it, and that's been changed out. In fact, I think they have a waste oil heater in there now. So there was lots of good data that I think we paid the 10 grand for, that we've been able to implement. It's just it wasn't such that I felt the council was comfortable proceeding with trying to get the loan program to,
Right.
on the payback.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else questions? Because if not, the resolution number is 1909.
I move that we adopt resolution number 1909, accepting the integrated resource plan, initial 5-year plan dated August 18th, 2014 for the city of Gardner.
Second.
Motion, Freeman, second, showed that we adopt resolution 1909, accepting the integrated resource plan, initial 5-year plan dated August 18th, 2014 for the city of Gardner. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution 1909 passes. New business item number 6. Consider passing an ordinance authorizing the execution of the second amendment to the loan agreement between Gardner, Kansas and the state of Kansas, acting by and through the Kansas Department of Health and Environment for the purpose of obtaining a loan from the Kansas Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund for the purpose of financing a wastewater treatment project, establishing a dedicated source of revenue for repayment of such loan, authorizing and approving certain documents in connection therewith, and authorizing certain other actions in connection with the second amendment to the loan agreement. Say that 3 times fast.
That's the state's really succinct way of saying, you gotta do these papers if you want an extension on your loan. Well, I don't even say extension, we want more money. So, as you know, that we built a wastewater treatment plant in cooperation with the city of Edgerton, and the project is complete. so it's time for accounting staff to